What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. It's Danny Elliott. And I want to talk to you today about how it's always better when you don't have to get a license. Our friend Bill Gates, who had an update for us, he wanted to talk to us about how marrying his wife was his worst mistake in his entire life. And you know, that's really no shock to me because I never wanted to be divorced. I always wanted to be unmarried because I always knew that it was a shortcut. See, a lot of people really want to be divorced. Before you can be divorced, you have to be married. You have to set sail on the partnership. It's the only ship that sinks. It's the only ship that doesn't sail. There was another article too about Christina Applegate. You might remember Christina Applegate. She was hot back in the day. She was on Married with Children. She was the biker chick, the blonde. She has MS now, but she was talking about how she had an eating disorder back in the day when she was on the show. Everybody wants to come out like 25 years after the fact and tell us how horrible things really were. But Married with Children ran for 11 seasons. It was very popular because it was a real story about American life. Most humor is rooted in real truth. You know, the reason it's funny is because it's true. My mom hated this show. She said, this show, you're not allowed to watch this show. Forget it. If I catch you watching this show, I'm going to send you to your room and you're not going to come out until you're 78 years old. But this show was a real show because it shows what it's like to be married. And obviously Bill Gates agrees because he just came out and said that, you know, getting married was the worst mistake he ever made. Divorcing Melinda was horrible. See, the thing is, you don't need a license to be in a long-term monogamous relationship with somebody. There's all these channels, guys talking about how they had to basically reboot their entire life after they got divorced. It was such a terrible experience for them. They're like Paul Revere. They're running out there telling everybody, don't do it, don't do it. It's the worst thing you could ever do in your entire life. And like I said, I never really wanted to do it. I always wanted to be unmarried, and I already was. You know, I checked and I already was. So I didn't need to do anything, but all these other guys wanted to be divorced, so they had to go get married so that they could get divorced. Or maybe just the women wanted to get divorced, so they had to get married first and then get divorced. I don't know what it is. I never wanted to be divorced, so I never got married. But there's all these guys, you know, running around saying don't do it. So I said, all right, well, I guess I made the right decision. So that's good. So I was thinking about, you don't need to be licensed. You don't need to be licensed to be in a long-term monogamous relationship. You don't even need to be licensed to have a marriage. They have a ceremony at a beach resort somewhere, and then you go to a banquet at a hall or at a restaurant or some, you know, beautiful venue, and everybody gets drunk and has a great time, and you sing and you dance, and it's wonderful, you know, and then they go back to the hotel and they all pass out. And then you wake up in the morning and nobody can remember what the hell happened. But nobody ever asks, hey, did anybody see the copy of his license? We need to get a copy of the license. No, nobody ever says that. No one ever says that. They all just say, oh, they got married, it's so wonderful. They're going to be a wonderful couple, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's the most amazing and fantastic thing ever. But nobody ever asks to see the license. So you don't really need to be licensed, and you kind of don't want to be licensed. Like, a lot of people aren't licensed. You know, there's a lot of people, like I'm driving right now. I'm in New England. Probably half of the people driving around here aren't licensed. They're operating cars, trucks, big rigs. They don't even have a license. Nobody cares. The cops don't care. The government officials don't care. They don't care if anybody's undocumented around here. It's fine. There's no problem. You don't need a license. Nobody needs a license, right? Like, I'm a real estate investor. I buy houses. I find owners that want to sell their house quickly. I buy houses from them. I don't need a license. I don't need a real estate license to buy and sell houses, right? I just need a seller. You don't need a license to sell your house. You don't need a real estate agent to sell your house. You know, it's easy. So you don't need a license for most things in life. But everybody thinks they got to have a license. Everybody thinks they got to get a document, they got to get a certificate. They got to have a licensed salesperson work with them and help them list their house so that it can sit on the MLS for months and months until it has the stink of death and everybody knows that the price is wrong, right? Just like these marriages you see, like the couple in Married with Children. You see them all the time. You see them at the mall, you see them at the airport. They look like they're so unhappy. They're not in love at all. Like, you know, Al and Peg, right? They hated each other. They just did it because the society and the culture said they had to do it, right? You had to get married because that was the thing to do. All the boomers did it. You had to get married. You had to get the house with the 2 cars, with the 2 kids, with the 2 cats in the yard. And now, you know, they all got divorced. They all can't stand each other. They're all fighting each other in divorce court. You know, everybody's getting a spread. The wife gets a spread. The divorce attorney gets a spread. The judges get a spread. All the lawyers, all the state government gets a spread. Everybody's collecting, right? You're getting child support payments going through. You're getting alimony payments. Everybody's taking a cut of the action. And instead, you could just be in a long-term monogamous relationship with someone who you really love, and you could stay that way until some point in the future when maybe you don't love them anymore, right? Like Bill and Melinda Gates. They don't love each other anymore. They decided to split it off, and now, of course, somebody's got regrets because, you know, Melinda Gates has cash flow and Bill Gates just thinks that it's the worst decision he ever made. You know, a lot of people who bought a house during the crisis, they listened to someone with a license, right? They made a very bad decision. And now they're sitting there and their property taxes are going up, right? The government's taking a much bigger spread off them that they never expected. The interest rates never went down, so maybe they dated the rate and they married the house. But now they want to, you know, divorce the rate, dump the house, and kill the agent. You don't need to be licensed to be in love with somebody. Like my grandfather, he was a World War II veteran, right? He had a Bronze Star, 3 battle stars. He was a real man, right? He used to do all his own stuff. He would do his own electrical work. He would do his own plumbing. He would do his own carpentry. He didn't need to hire a guy with a license. He didn't need a licensed electrician. He didn't need a guy who was a union member to do his electrical work for him, right? Who pays dues to some fascist organization to come in and do things for him. He just figured out how to do it. Like, I don't need a real estate license to be able to buy houses. I just need to be able to do math. There's YouTube presenters that I watch, and they refer to their long-term girlfriend as their wife. But, I mean, they don't have a marriage license. They're just said to be husband and wife. Nobody ever asks, right? Just like these people driving around out here. Nobody ever asks them if they got a license, right? The cops don't care. They pull over people that are undocumented and they just let them go. They don't need a driver's license, even though the state tells us we need one. This country is just about trying to get as many people licensed as possible so that they could screw you and that they could take a spread off you. You know, they can get you to pay for something and then they can get a cut of the action. And that's what's going on in the real estate industry, right? They want you to think that you can't sell your house quickly without a salesperson. They want you to think that you need a licensed salesperson to be able to sell your house. And you don't. You just need a buyer. So that's where I come in. You know, I'm working with homeowners every day who want to sell their house quickly. And maybe they got a house that cash flows, right? Maybe they got a house that's a really good deal. They don't want to fix that house. They haven't renovated that house since 1978. You know, they got an old kitchen and bathroom in that house. Their agent's going to tell them, hey, you got to get this house in proper condition or I can't put it up on the MLS. No one's ever going to be interested in this house. You have to put more money into this house. And by the way, I'm going to take about $50,000 out of this deal. You know, you don't get to have that. I'm going to take it because I need a commission. I have a license to take your money. But you don't need that, guys. You could just sell your house quickly. You could just call me. I think it's always better to not have a license, especially when you love somebody. If you really love somebody and you want that thing to last forever, it's better not to have a license. I know. I'll tell you right now, I've been in so many relationships where like we were madly in love, right? At one point. But then there reached a point where it just fell apart for various reasons. And I look back on it sometimes, and you know, sometimes I think about it, you know, like I wonder what happened to her, you know. And I always look fondly upon like the times we spent together. I can't think of one where like it was actually a horrible breakup and like we hated each other at the end. Like it always ended amicably, you know? And it was never like we were living together so we had to like split a house in half, or like, you know, somebody got the couch and somebody got the bedroom set. It was never like that. We never had all these entanglements that these people who had to go ahead and get a license have. You know, all these divorced guys on YouTube, you're in a long-term monogamous relationship with someone you don't love. You know, nothing gets done around the house, nobody's bringing value to the table, and nobody loves each other. And I can think of so many marriages that are like that. I mean, just look, next time you're in the airport, next time you're in the mall, next time you see like, you know, a well-fed husband and wife walking down with a couple of miserable kids, just think back to this video and you'll be able to say, yeah, you know, I'm glad I never got married and divorced and went through all those entanglements. I'm glad I never hired a real estate agent. No, everybody hires a real estate agent. Most people do. The vast majority of people will. But you don't have to, you know. You don't have to do it. You can sell your house without an agent. You can be in a long-term monogamous relationship with somebody you love for as long as it goes. And it could last forever. Or it could last until some point in the future when it doesn't work out anymore and you go your separate ways. But you basically just sit down and you say, hey, this isn't working out. Yeah, I know it's not working out. Well, you want to just call it quits? Yeah, I think we should. And then you leave. And then it's over. And then you go on and you meet someone else. And then maybe you fall in love again. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way life works. But we don't need all these legal entanglements. We don't need all these stupid licenses that Americans insist on getting. So, I wanted you guys to think about that today. Maybe you enjoyed the video. Maybe you're married and you hate the video, like my mom. She would probably hate this video. That's okay. She doesn't really like anything. But I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching me. I'm Danny Elliott.